Hello students, welcome to science class of standard 10. In the previous part we have started chapter number 6 and the name of the chapter is life process. This chapter belongs to biology part. In the previous part we have discussed about few processes that we are going to study in this chapter like nutrition, respiration, circulation, excretion and so on. These are some of the essential process that we are going to study. In the previous part we have already studied about nutrition. In nutrition we have studied nutrition means the nourishment or the need of energy that our body gets from the outside. And the nutrition, there are two types. The one is autotrophic nutrition and another is heterotrophic nutrition. We have studied the difference between them and its subtypes. In the autotrophic nutrition, we have studied about photosynthesis, its process, about stomata. Then for the heterotrophic nutrition, we have studied its subtypes that are saprophytic nutrition, parasitic nutrition, and holozoic nutrition. In that, we have studied the nutrition in human, that is human digestive system, and also we have studied the nutrition in amoeba. So in the previous part we have already completed the nutrition part. In this part we are going to begin about respiration. What is the meaning of respiration? Respiration means the exchange of gases. The animals and plants have different means of exchange of gases. At a cellular level, respiration means the burning of food for the generation of energy needed for other life process. Cellular respiration may take place in the presence or absence of oxygen. Cellular respiration may take place in the absence or presence of oxygen. So the respiration is again further divided into two types, that is aerobic respiration and anaerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration takes place in the presence of oxygen and anaerobic respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. Aerobic respiration. The respiration which takes place in the presence of oxygen is known as aerobic respiration. Most of the organisms show aerobic respiration. It takes place in the cells and so it is called cellular or internal respiration. During aerobic respiration, the food in the presence of oxygen is completely broken down into carbon dioxide and water. The energy released is stored in the form of ATP. Means in short, the respiration means the breakdown of glucose to obtain energy, as we have discussed over here. So whenever we are talking about aerobic respiration, aerobic means it will take place in the presence of oxygen. So when the glucose from our blood in presence of oxygen will break down, it will release a high amount of energy, that is energy in the form of ATP. And also this will takes place in the mitochondria. The mitochondria is known as the powerhouse of the cell, and also it will release a large amount of ATP. And also the energy released during the aerobic respiration will be in more amount as compared to anaerobic respiration. When we are talking about anaerobic respiration, it is completely opposite to aerobic respiration. As we have studied the difference between autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition, students, you also have to study the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. This question is sure to be the most important question. The respiration which takes place in the absence of oxygen is known as anaerobic respiration. It is seen in the microorganisms like bacteria, yeast, fungi, endoparasites, and muscle cells. So this is some of the difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. Now we are going to begin the most important part, that is respiration in human. The human respiratory system is more complex and involves breathing and exchange of gases. Breathing involves the inhalation and exhalation of a carbon dioxide. Means in respiration means inhalation and exhalation. In short, and the exchange of gases takes place. Means the oxygen rich air is reached up to lungs, and from lungs to various parts of the body. So this and in various parts of the body, each and every cell gets oxygen. So how this figure of this respiratory system is very much important. Students, you have to learn this figure. The human respiratory system involves the nose, nasal cavity, pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchioles and alveoli. Bronchioles and alveoli are closed in pair of lungs. As you can see, bronchioles and alveoli are inside the lungs. The ribcage muscles associated with the ribcage and diaphragm all help in the inhalation and exhalation of the gases. Exchange of gases takes place between an alveolar surface and surrounding blood vessels. Alveoli provide a large area for the exchange of gases. Because of the alveoli, a large amount of exchange of gases takes place. Now we are going to see about the whole exchange of gases that takes place. So how it takes place, let me explain. From the nasal cavity, the air goes inside the respiratory system. Please keep in mind, I am telling air goes inside. We will not speak the oxygen goes inside the nasal cavity, because all the air in the atmosphere, oxygen and or as well as so many airs are present, that air will go inside. But inside the nasal cavity will allow only the oxygen rich air to pass through the respiratory system. So in nasal cavity, some hair like structure is there. That hair like structure will help it to purify the air, and only please keep in mind the oxygen rich air will move inside the move inside in the respiratory system, and only the carbon dioxide rich air will move out of the respiratory system. From the nasal cavity, it will move to the pharynx. From the pharynx, it will move to the larynx. So what is larynx? It's in that on the larynx there is a C-shaped cartilage. Cartilage means a small, very smoothy, bony structure. And why it's a C-shaped cartilage and there are ribs or C-shaped cartilage? Because it will not allow to collapse. If it is in a straight path, when we take when the exchange of gases or when the oxygen becomes more or less in amount during breathing, the chances may there to be collapse. So to prevent it from collapse, that have C-shaped cartilage. If it will collapse, the human can die. So it is a C-shaped cartilage. From that, it will pharynx is also known as windpipe. From pharynx to trachea, and from trachea, the oxygen rich air will enter inside the lungs in the bronchioles. First it will enter in the bronchi. As you can see from the trachea, there are two divisions. Means both side there are bronchi. Okay, that bronchi is further divided into a branch like structure. That branch like structure is known as bronchioles, and on the end of the bronchioles you can see there are small bag like structure, that is known as alveoli. As you can find over here, there is small bag like structure that is known as alveoli. Okay, so many are there, then it is known as alveoli, and if only one is there, it means alveolus. If we are talking about the singular singular bag-like structure, then it is alveolus, and if we are talking about plural, then it's alveoli. In the singular plural, please keep in mind. So now oxygen rich air will enter in the bronchi. From bronchi it will move to the bronchioles, and from bronchioles it will move to the bag like structure, that is alveoli. Outside of the alveoli there are so many blood capillaries. That blood capillaries are rich with the RBC and oxygen and other gases. That oxygen will mix with the RBC, and from the in on that the on that the carbon dioxide are present. That carbon dioxide will be moved from alveoli to bronchioles, and from bronchi, lungs, trachea, and it will move through the nasal cavity. And the oxygen will be from alveoli, it will move to the blood capillaries, and from blood capillaries to all part of the body organs. So each and every cells which will get the RBC and the oxygen. So this is the human respiratory system. When we are talking about human respiratory system, we are the major part is breathing. Breathing involves inhalation of air and exhalation of air. When we are talking about inhalation, you have to also learn the difference between inhalation and exhalation. It can be asked. Inhalation of air means we itself, if we inhale the air, the size of our chest cavity will increase, and we will exhale the air, the size of our chest cavity will decrease. When we are inhaling the air, the diaphragm will get flattened, as you can see there, which is the diaphragm. Okay, and when we are exhaling the air, the diaphragm will move upward. When we are inhaling the air, the rib cage goes when we are inhaling the air, the rib cage goes in, and when we are exhaling the air, the rib cage moves out. So these are the few of the differences about inhalation and exhalation. One breath comprises of one inhalation and one exhalation, and breathe in the number of times a person breathes in 1 minute is termed as the his or her breathing rate. Means in 1 minute how much a person can breathe, that is the normal breathing rate of a human. Now we are going to study the next term, that is transportation, which is one of the next important topic that we are going to study in this chapter. Transportation means the movement, the moving of air, water, oxygen, blood inside our body for our survival. That is known as transportation. On our regular basis, animal ensures these elements by breathing, drinking, and eating. The required elements are transported to the body and tissues by transportation system. In plants, the vascular tissue is responsible for transporting the substances. If we are talking about transportation in human, then transportation in human consists of our human circulatory system. The circulatory system in human mainly consists of blood vessels, and heart. It is responsible for the supply of oxygen, nutrients, and the removal of carbon dioxide and other excretory products. It also helps to fight against any infection. If we are talking about the human heart is a four-chambered heart. The upper two are known as arteries, and the lowers are known as ventricles. And it helps in the separating the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. The upper two chambers are artery and the lower two chambers are called ventricle. Both the oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported by blood, and so in order to prevent the mixing of oxygen-rich blood with blood containing carbon dioxide, there are four chambers in heart. It means these four chambers will not allow the oxygenated and the deoxygenated blood to get mixed, so that the here, because of the four chambers, the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood will not mix with each other. So the upper two chambers, we are talking about the chambers, they are known as atria. In singular, if we are talking about singular, then it is atrium. The left chamber is known as the left atrium, while the right chamber is known as the right atrium. The walls of atria are thin. If we talk about the lower chambers are known as ventricles. The left chamber is known as left ventricle and the right chamber is known as right ventricle. The walls of ventricles are thick. All the four chambers are separated from each other by partitions called septa. Now we are talking about valves. There is a bicuspid valve that allows the oxygenated blood to flow from atrium to ventricle. Also, there is a tricuspid valve that allows the deoxygenated blood to flow from the right atrium to right ventricle. Means, students, you have to remember, when we are talking about the left atrium and ventricle, then there will be a bicuspid valve, and when we are talking about the right atrium and right ventricle, there will be a tricuspid valve. And whenever we are talking about left atrium and ventricle, there will be separation of oxygenated blood, and when we were talking about right atrium and ventricle, there will be separation of deoxygenated blood. From these 2 points, so many 1 marks questions are getting, so you must understand this, the importance of this. The valves prevent the backward flow from the ventricles to the atria. They are one-way valves. Yes, also they are only moving in one direction. Means, as you can see in the heart, I have shown here few arrows in this figure. They are one way valve, means they are moving in the one way only, they are not moving in the backward flow. Okay, means if it is moving from left atrium to left ventricle, again from left ventricle it will not move to left atrium, so they are only one way valves. So this one-way valves will help them to prevent the backward flow. Now, if we are talking about the double circulation, means our heart is beating in the form of a double circulation. That it is beating twice. Once it goes through the pulmonary circulation and the second time during systematic circulation. Hence, circulation in human being is called double circulation. As you can see, the red color indicates the oxygenated blood, while the blue color indicates the deoxygenated blood. From the lung capillaries, all the oxygenated blood, as we have studied in the respiratory system, that now the oxygen rich air from the blood capillaries are entered into the lungs. So now lung capillaries contains that oxygenated blood. That oxygenated blood will move to the heart. That oxygenated air is mixed with the RBC, so that now oxygenated RBC or the oxygenated blood will move from the lung capillaries to the left ventricle, or you can tell the pulmonary veins to the lungs, and there from that pulmonary veins to the lungs it will enter to the left portion of our heart, and from that it will move to the all the parts of the body. From all the parts of the body that will use that oxygenated blood and will release the deoxygenated amount of blood, and that deoxygenated blood will again move to the right chamber of the heart, and from that right chamber of the heart again it will move to the lung capillaries, and again from the lung capillaries it will move to the thoracic cavity, means to the lungs, and from lungs to outside through the nasal cavity. Now, if we are talking about the transportation in plants, so transportation in plants is a vital process in plants. The process involves the transportation of water and necessary nutrients parts of the plant for its survival. Food and water transportation takes place separately in plants. Xylem transports water and phloem transports food. This is the difference between xylem and phloem. Xylem will transport water, and phloem will transport food. Xylem will move from root to the stem part, and the phloem will move from stem to the different parts of the plants. This is also one more difference between xylem and phloem. Phloem is responsible for the translocation of nutrients like sugar, carbohydrate produced by the leaves to the area of the plant that are metabolically active. As I told, that phloem will transport from shoot to different parts of the plant. Seed tube, companion tube, phloem fibers, and phloem parenchyma, the components of this tissue. The flow of material through phloem is bidirectional. Bidirectional means from both the direction. And if we are talking about the xylem, it will move in the one direction. Translocation. The transport of food in the plant through phloem via process such as mass. Now, translocation. If we are talking about now, the last process is that about the human excretory system. The human excretory system consists of the pair of kidneys, renal artery, ureter, urinary bladder, and urethra. Excretory system means the removal of unwanted waste from the body. So how this system takes place, let's see. In human, a pair of kidneys located in the abdomen, one on the either side of the backbone. Urine is produced by filtering out nitrogenous waste produced from the blood in the kidney. So in kidneys, the nitrogenous waste are produced, and it will move from kidney. And that if we are talking about the blood, as you can see the blue and the red linings, from vena cava, from aorta, the oxygenated from aorta, the oxygenated blood will enter from aorta to the kidney. But it is, though it is oxygenated blood, but it is not that much pure blood, because all the oxygen, most of amount of the oxygen is used by the all the body organs. So the from the kidney, inside the kidney, the purification will takes place. Ureter, a pair after that in kidney, after being filtered in the kidney, a pair of long tubes which connects the kidney with the urinary bladder. Urine produced in the kidney pass to urinary bladder through ureter. From that urinary bladder, it is a muscular bag for storing urine. Urine is temporarily stored in it until the pressure of expanded bladder to the urge to pass it out through the urethra. From in the urethra, a passage extending from urinary bladder opening to outside the body, urine is excreted through it. Inside the kidney, there are number of nephrons, maximum 10 lakh nephrons in each kidney is present. Each kidney has a number of nephrons packed closely together. Nephron is long boiled tubular structure which being the cup shaped end called Bowman's capsule ends in a collecting duct. A cluster of blood capillaries seen in the Bowman's capsule is called glomerulus. As you can see in the figure, this is the structure of nephron. Okay students, this is the structure of nephron. Inside structure of nephron, the purification of blood takes place in the glomerulus. Now if we are talking about excretion in plants, unlike animals, the plants do not possess any special organ or system for excretion. However, the plants excrete their waste in different ways. O2 produced during photosynthesis by green plant is set free directly in the atmosphere. Plants move surplus water by the process of transpiration through the stomata. Sometimes the plants store certain waste in the cells of the leaves, which are ultimate shed off. Certain plants store waste in the vacuoles of the cells. Other waste products such as resin and gums are stored especially in old xylems. Plant excrete some waste substances into the soil around them. So this is the excretory system in the plants and also as well as in the humans. So here we have completed our chapter number 6. Students, I am again telling you this is the most important chapter of our syllabus. So go through it nicely. So many kind of differences are there. So many 1 marks questions are there. MCQs are there within this chapter. So please go through each and every line of the chapter in the textbook as well as the notes which are mentioned in my PDF. Please go through each and every line of this chapter. It's a very important chapter. In the next part we will meet with a new chapter. Thank you.